So hello there, I am back again for a quick tutorial about map editor in War Selection. So I'm going through to tell you how to create a map, what you can do on the map, what you need to play a map, a few extra tips, and how to create a custom map lobby. I'm just calling it that way, or better say how to use the custom created map. So to begin with, we click on this button here. Doesn't necessarily need to mean free for all for you, but it's just the last game you played. It's just a button below play. Now in here you find the map editor button, which of course is the map editor. In here you have a few options. You can just use a existing map code you get from a friend or somewhere found somewhere else and open the map here with the open button. Now we are not interested in that. We are here to create a new map. Now here you can change the settings of your newly generated map. So first thing first is you can choose one of the few default sizes from tiny to giant. The biggest size is, by the way, only like not even half the size you can maximum go. You can go up to 1000 of both sides. Also good to know is that the map doesn't need to be square. It can the length and width can be different, so you can make a not asymmetrical map, but like yeah, not a square map. Just it can be, as you can see, like go from a hundred length to a thousand width. But yeah, that's just if you're interested. But default maps are square, so I would recommend using a square map. Now down here you can enable this button, and with this you have a few settings to generate the map with some landscape settings, which include relief size, height of terrain, height of mountains, forest size, and amount of forests. I like all of them are more or less self-explanatory, except relief size, I think. As far as I understood, those are basically just how steep the cliffs get. So if you have them high up, the cliffs are very like steep, and if you have them lower, the cliffs are like very long and like stretch out over a big patch of the map. So like I would recommend having it at a higher size, so when you have a cliff that it doesn't take up too much space of the map. Height of terrain is also, like I said, I would say self-explanatory, just how high the map can get, like from the water levels, how high it can rise up on, like overall. It's not like the hills. The height of mountains is just when the game wants to generate a mountain, it's just the maximum height a mountain can reach. So if you want a big amount of mountains, go up. If you barely want any mountains, just go down. Forest sizes, how big a forest can you get, and the amount of forests, how many forest patches spawn on the map. Now, the last thing you can do is the symmetries. You have a few symmetries options. Basically, like you can cut up your map in basically all directions. And random symmetry. Doesn't really matter what you choose, or if you choose anything. It just makes your game a lot easier. Your map creation a lot easier if you choose symmetry, because without, it's probably gonna be unbalanced, because it's hard to balance a map without symmetry. But if you don't want to have a symmetry, just don't use it. Now, after we created our map, we get a random map here generated. Yeah, when you scroll out too far, you'd call out the whole objects and layers and everything. So what you can do in here is a few things, like quite a lot actually. You have up here a few options, which are decals, which are just little patches on the ground. Models, you can turn them on and off, which includes stones, trees, and everything else. Water, like if you want to see through water, how it looks below it. The map, if you want to hide something below water or something like that. And the land masses. It's just a few little things that might help you to see some things better, but usually are not really needed. Now, one very useful option up here is the passability zones. In here you see basically three things. You see, actually four things. You see water, you see passable land, you see passable land but not buildable, and you see impassable land, and of course also imbuildable. Like you can't build anything on here, and your units can't go through. The difference is like hard white, a little bit like grayed out white, and just the default texture, basically just a little bit greened. Like, yeah, you can see the shells. It's pretty self-explanatory. Other difference, also what you can also see here is shallow water and like big water, deep water. Yeah, I guess deep water is better word than big water. What the fuck? Yeah, it's a helpful tool to see if how the possibilities of your map work. Now, if you want to do something on this map, you have a few options up here. So we have Actually, first of all, we're going into Symmetry again. You can enable a Symmetry again. I would recommend you to use the Symmetry you use to generate the map, because if you do something on one side of the map, it's going to do automatically the other thing on the other side of the map. As you might have already noticed, we have had like, what's it called? This is a generation error, because the iron on this side got blocked because the symmetry isn't like good. Yeah, it's like a little bit buggy, as you can already see here with the possibility. We have different possibilities. Yeah, it's just the polygons don't really like mirror correctly. I don't quite know why, but it's probably engine from the engine side. But so you should look out on your map for like especially iron deposits and stone deposits if they got mirrored correctly, because sometimes they just straight up don't spawn them. Yeah. Then yeah, and also the possibility can be not mirrored correctly. Like there could be a part of the map where you can go through, like on the left side, and the symmetry, the mirrored part of the map, you might not be able to go through. As you can already see here, like we have like basically two different kinds of possibilities. Just a little, yeah, watch out. What you should look out for. Now, as said, what you can basically do in here is also the texturing. It has like 3 radius options and the power option. Basically, there's a minimum radius, the maximum radius, and like you can have like that it's not like the total brush. How do I explain this well? Like with the radius inside, if you have a smaller radius inside and using a bigger radius outside, you're like making a cone. Yeah, I guess you can explain it like that. That you don't color as aggressive on the outside than on the inside. But it's mostly interesting for the terrain generation. Yeah. So usually I would just look that they are on the same size. It's just, yeah, makes it a little bit better. Power is, I guess, self-explanatory. If you have less power, it's not going to be as aggressive as with full power. You can already see the difference, and you can already see the mirroring hitting in. What you're probably going to use here is the default texturing theme. Just put it on max and fill your map with a default texture. Now, as you can already see, we have a slight, what do we call error again, which colors the cliffs of any cliff, just the snowy cliffs. I don't quite know why this happens, but it's an easy fix. You can just right click it away and it looks a lot more normal, though it's like hasn't really any cliffs now. If you want to have a cliffs, just lower the power settings and remove them less aggressive, so you still have some sort of cliff remaining. Yeah. Watch out when you do that, because mirroring is also sometimes a little bit broken with that. If you want to manual texture something, you have this tool here. I think a lot of people should know that, to pick a random spot on the map. Or not really random, you just pick a spot on the map and you're copying that like theme. Not really useful for default texturing, because default texturing uses different textures and colors to make it more smooth, because as you can already see, it would look pretty one-sided if you just use one theme. Yeah. Then you have 2 colors, like, how do I say this? Like in inside and outside color. Like every texture has like 2 color patterns you can apply to it. For example, we have this. What is this texture? I don't really know. It's just texture, and if you swap it, you like have another main color. You just switch the main color and secondary color out. Yeah, so you can change up a lot of textures. Like you have a lot of textures with color combinations. Of course, you can just click on the colors and change them in any direction you want, or to any color you want. Yeah, my English is broken again, as you can hear. Textures, you have 1 to 50, 51 to 55. I assume is not assigned, because you only get a, what is 52, was it? Or no, 51 has like a, what do you call this? An placeholder texture, and I think the others have the same. Yeah, it's just a placeholder texture. I mean, might actually look good for a futuristic map, but in other usage they're probably not really useful. Yeah, that's about it with the texturing. Now we go over to, actually we're gonna fix this real quick to default looking, because it looks better. Now we go back to environment. In here we have the same radius settings and intensity settings. You can also use the tool to pick envoys, basically. I'm just calling everything envoys. I mean, it's probably the same. And you can just search them in here. Basically, in here you have a list of every envoy the game currently has, also including some test envoys and other stuff. A lot of trash is in here, like literally the decals of buildings and trash animation if a building dies. Mostly you will use the search, I guess, search function to find your stuff. So if you just search for a tree, watch out that you don't take a, where is it, that tree. Yeah, here, look that you take a live tree, because dead trees are, well, dead and don't look that good, except of course if you want a dead themed map where you want dead trees. But that's basically it. If you want a filler map with trees, you have the tool for it. The envoys also apply with the symmetry, so if you place them on one side of the map, they are going to be placed on the other side as well. In here you find trees, stones, decoration stones, which are actually not used in the default games. Like if you search for stone, you find the deposit, and then here we have the stone grass big, which workshop. It's a decoration stone. If I go down with it intensity, you can actually see it. Might actually be very useful for decoration. But yeah, there's also a lot of other decoration stuff in here, like as graves. Are they called graves, or are they called, what are they called? Tombstones. No, yeah, whatever. There are some graves and tombstones in here somewhere as well, decorations and stuff like that. You can just look through for it once and see a lot of things. You can also use the group tool down here if you want trees. Like we have 3 different size trees: the birch tree big, birch tree medium, and birch tree small. If you want to apply all 3 of them at the same time, you can just add them to the group. Here you can change the probability of them getting spawned. I would recommend having the small tree either not at all or very low, because they have less resources. So if you want to have like decent amount of resources, you should take less small trees. And when we use this group feature, you can see we are let's say painting or adding different sized of trees. You can of course add basically everything to this, and with this button down here you just remove it again. Yeah, that's about it with environment. Vertical terrain level, that's basically the whole terrain. You can just I mean, it's self-explanatory. Left click, what do you say, hover it up. No, not really, it's a wrong word. Change the height of it into the positive and negative. I'm just calling it that. Yeah, don't ask. Yeah, right click down, left click up, change the intensity. That's about it. That's like the main tool you use to change your lamp masses. And the other main tool is the smooth terrain feature, which is basically just as the picture already suggests, an ironing tool. I don't quite know what it's called. With it, you can left click smooth out things, and with right click you can basically hard cut. How do I tell this? You can basically see it. You're just put everything on that level. Like if you have a terrain level like this and you right click, everything will be set on that level. With the intensity, of course, you can adjust your intensity in any case. Yeah, basically you're using it to smooth out things, and if you want to put a whole terrain on one level, you're just using this flattening. Yeah, let's call it flattening tool. That's actually pretty fitting. You can just flatten everything to that height. Like it can be water level and it can be land level, of course. It can be like any level of height. That's basically already what those two tools do. And let's clean out the map real quick. Yeah, of course, removing envoys is with right click, but it takes a little bit long because it has like a maximum of like 100 envoys per second, and if you have like 500 trees in one place, it's going to take a few seconds for them to be removed. A little bit annoying, but I guess it is what it is. So let's just clear this out again real quick. Wonderful. Now, factions and teams. In here we have the faction and team tab. In the team tab, you want to add teams, and in the factions you basically add factions that players spawn. It's just one player. One faction is one player usually. I mean, not usually. It literally is that. I'm gonna come back to that in a moment. We're just gonna check out the last feature there is in here, which is the ruler, which is to measure basically length of the map. I mean, it's a ruler. It's like self-explanatory. Yeah. Now, next part. In the minimum you need to play is basically only the factions and teams. The only thing you need to add for a custom map to work is factions and teams, which is 2 teams. You need to add 2 teams. Call it them something you can distinguish them. And factions, you at least need 2 factions. Yeah. Now don't forget to add the factions to their respective teams, so they are in the correct team. Now, each faction needs at least 1 main building of any kind. So usually you probably want the altar, but you can also add like the Elder's House of Asia or an ER building. Though the buildings who are not Stone Age will I guess work that you don't lose, but the problem is that you won't be set to that age. Like if you put a Japanese main building in here, you won't be in the Japanese age when you spawn into the map. So you basically always need to add a stone altar. It's like for other usage, you need to use a modification to set your age to the current era you're in. So yeah, basically you need to place a stone age altar. Now, what you also want to add probably is workers, because they don't get automatically summoned. Usually 5 for both resources like berries and trees, which we also need to add because nothing of that will get spawned. I mean, it makes it a little bit more like tedious to add all those things, but it's a lot better in my opinion because you can customize each spawn for every map. Like you don't need to give a player only those things. You can also give them like, I don't know, 2 slingers or 3 slingers and maybe even a Mount King or whatever as a starting unit. Scout of course as well, and other things you can give them, even your workers and units. You can basically give a player or faction everything you want. Now do that for both factions or every faction you have in your map. And now, with only those 2 altars, the game is already playable. Playable, like you can start the match, but not really like playable in a sense of like competitive play. You probably won't get far because you have literally no berries and no other food storage. So yeah, and no trees anywhere close. So you should probably add those as well. Those are in the Envoy tab, by the way. Yeah, but if you have those 2 factors, you can go to settings, save the draft. When you've saved the draft, you can actually change the name of the map. And then save the draft again to apply the name change. Release the map, because if you don't release it, you can't play it. And then you can copy the code. Now, if we are in the menu here, go back to the menu, and when we're in here, we go to private match, create a private match, custom map, and here you can paste the map code you have probably in your clipboard. If this doesn't work, maybe check if you have copied the map code correctly. Maybe it didn't quite copy it, or check that you don't have a space behind the map code, because that can also sometimes cause errors. In here you can change your lobby name, not really interesting. You can create your map, and in here you have the lobby. You can give this code to another player and he can join your match. Now to test things, you actually don't need another player, you can just start. And now as you can see, we have 1 of 2 players, because we have 2 altars, only 2 players can join the lobby. Now in here we have team A and B, which we have created in the map editor. A and B are not the team names, but the faction names. But down here you can see A and B again, which is the team names. Yeah. Now let's just start, and as you can see, we are in our custom map. Currently we see the enemy because we haven't set the diplomatic correctly. Currently we are in the same team somehow, but still in the enemy team. It's a little bit buggy, but I'm going to show you in a second how to do that. But as you can see, we have all the units, we can control them, we can technically produce them if we would have PopCap, and yeah, it works, I guess. Now let's go back into the map editor, and in here, yeah, what I talked about with the diplomatic, as you can see here, there's a little error, non-mutual diplomatic relations. That's because there's a small error sometimes. You should enable this setting, which automatically sets the diplomatic state, I guess. And in here, you can set from the teams currently with this setting enabled. Can you set the other team to an enemy? If you have the other team on enemy, units will automatically attack each other. If you have them on neutrality, they can attack each other, but only if you right-click. So if you Q attack something, the units won't automatically attack. You need to manually right-click other players' units to attack them. And ally it is different team, but still ally, which is basically just an ally. So usually you want enemy for, yeah, in basically all situations. If you change this to diplomacy is customized for a faction personally and disable this one here, you can actually change that in the factions tab and can technically change the diplomatic relationship from factions which are not correct with the team. Currently, as you can see, it throws some kind of error because it's confused because like its team are enemies, but the factions are friends, which is not working, as you can see. But yeah, usually you just want to set this on enemy, and it's easier if you just take the upper setting. Yeah. Now, yeah, that's about it. If you want to change modifications, they are up here. But we will get into that in another video. Basically, in here you can edit your default modifications, add your own modifications, and add modifications from other players. But as said, I will make another tutorial for that because they are a little bit... they're another thing. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's about it. I hope I was able to help you in some way. If not, then that's unfortunate. Maybe ask a question, I might be able to help. So yeah, see you around and bye.